Just a few weeks ago, we read together a different story of Jacob resting for the night. In that story, like this one, Jacob encountered something that changed him forever. In this passage, today's lection, Jacob is returning after many years away. He has a family of his own now, and great wealth, and he's preparing to meet his brother Esau the very next day. Jacob is terrified. He remembers well the last words reported by his mother Rebekah that Esau, his brother, intends to kill him for stealing Esau's birthright and blessing. So Jacob sends word to his brother that he's coming, that he's quite wealthy, and that he wishes to find favor in his brother's sight. The response is swift. Esau approaches with 400 men. Jacob is rightly frightened. He prays for divine assistance. He prays, "Deliver me, please, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I am afraid of him." And he does what he can by setting aside a significant portion of his holdings and sending them ahead as a gift to appease Esau. Jacob says, "I may appease him with the present that goes ahead of me, and afterwards I shall see his face. Perhaps he will accept me." With these thoughts of seeing a face, of hoped-for acceptance, Jacob prepares to sleep. But in the night, instead of rest, a being comes and wrestles with Jacob. In the beginning of this passage, the being who wrestles with Jacob is called a man, but by the end, Jacob knows that he has seen God face to face. This encounter leaves a mark, a remnant that Jacob carries away from this place. We've been wrestling for months. We all have new names. Names like virtual, quarantine, work from home, online school, pandemic, you're on mute. We're marked by masks, by distance, by worry, by work and family, all constantly needing to be reimagined. We've confronted misinformation, lies, denials. All of this has changed us. I don't know that we can begin to imagine the ways that we have been changed and will continue to change. We've been wrestling, some trying to work in ways never anticipated, some now without a job, some now without a home, some home alone, not seeing another face in person for weeks or months. We've been marked, some of us through another night with no sleep, some with depression, some with anxiety, some with a loneliness that seems to take on its own presence in the house. We've confronted decisions, school looming largest perhaps among those of us with children. Decisions about who to see and how, about groceries and regular doctor visits. We've been wrestling, some for weeks and some for years. We want new names, names like anti-racist. We are marked by violence, by images of another black man pinned under a white police officer's knee, images of black children handcuffed and weeping on the asphalt, images of unidentified officers spraying tear gas, hitting, taking, shoving. We've confronted white supremacy, racism, greed, bias, lies, evil, willful ignorance, and excuses. And all of this has changed us. I don't know that we can begin to imagine the ways that we have all changed and will continue to change. We've been wrestling with ourselves and each other, wrestling with what must be unlearned, wrestling with guilt, with fear and worry, wrestling with emotional and physical health. The night of these months is long, and the wrestling is not over. The dawn is slow to come. Many of us, before these days, many of us have known what it is to survive by nothing more than refusing to give up. Many of us have experienced long nights, followed by getting up morning after morning and getting dressed with the pain, the heartache, the confusion, the exhaustion, and then doing what must be done. We are marked, as Jacob was, by our experiences. We carry our struggles, our trauma, our refusal to give up. Every loss, every divorce, every cancer diagnosis, every furlough, every death of someone we love leaves its mark. Sometimes all we can do is hang on. Sometimes we must look in the dark to find the face of God. Sometimes, like Jacob, the night leaves more than a wound. Sometimes there's a blessing. Jan Richardson's poem, A Blessing for Traveling in the Dark, reads, "Go slow if you can, slower, more slowly still. Friendly, dark, or fearsome, this is no place to break your neck by rushing, by running, by crashing into what you cannot see. Then again, it is true, different darks have different tasks. And if you've arrived here unawares, if you've come in peril or in pain, this might be no place you should dawdle. I do not know what these shadows ask of you, what they might hold that means you good or ill. It is not for me to reckon whether you should linger or whether you should leave. But this is what I can ask for you, that in the darkness there be a blessing, that in the shadows there be a welcome, that in the night you be encompassed by the love that knows your name." That in the night you be encompassed by a love that knows your name. A love that knows your name, a love that will give you a new name if that's what's needed. Jacob becomes Israel through his experience of wrestling through the night. Israel, like so many names in Hebrew, is not just a name. One way to understand this name is to consider the words that create it. Ish, is, human. Ra, sees. El, God. Israel, human sees God. God sees human. Jacob sees God. Jacob experiences the holy and demands a blessing. Jacob names this place, the place of his wrestling in the night, Peniel, which means the face of God. Jacob, whose name meant supplanter, grasper, is now Israel, one who sees God. Jacob has a wounded hip, a dangling question, what is your name? A blessing, and a new name of his own. He walks differently. He goes from there changed. He will never go back to normal. And neither will we. Sonia Renee Taylor, a Black woman, author, poet, spoken word artist, speaker, humanitarian and social justice activist, educator, and founder of The Body Is Not an Apology. Sonia Renee Taylor writes, "We will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was never normal, other than that we normalized greed, inequality, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We should not long to return, my friends. We are being given the opportunity to stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature." Jacob was given such an opportunity. And with this newness, Jacob, now Israel, crosses the Jabbok and goes to meet his brother. He catches up to his family and his livestock and his tribe, and we read in the Bible, Jacob, Israel, himself went on ahead of them, bowing himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. But Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. And then Esau asks, "What do you mean by all this company that I met?" And Jacob answered, "To find favor." But Esau said, "I have enough, my brother. Keep what you have for yourself." And Jacob said, "No, please. If I find favor with you, then accept my present from my hand, for truly to see your face is like seeing the face of God." Esau embraces his brother, kissing his neck. Jacob sees Esau and exclaims, "Esau, to see your face is like seeing the face of God." Israel, human sees God, God sees human. Israel knows what it is to see God in the night. And not just his hip is changed, his vision is changed as well. He sees God's face in his brother's face. How are we seeing God in these days of wrestling? How are we being changed? What names are we throwing off and what names are we claiming? The wrestling is not over. The night remains, the dawn is slow to come. Perhaps we can follow Jacob's example and demand a blessing. I wonder if the blessing is what we might give each other. I wonder if it's how we're willing to change, how we might speak for and vote for health and justice, how we might find new levels of compassion for ourselves and for each other. Whenever the dawn comes, we will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was never normal, other than that we normalized greed, inequity, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We must not return to normal. We are given the opportunity, like Jacob, to change, to see God's face. I pray that we will take it. Amen.